I just don't think you can go wrong with this brand, guys. Aviator, have you ever heard of it? I hadn't 2 years ago, but I bought this watch like a year and a half ago, and I've been wearing it a lot, and it's pretty excellent, especially for the money. And we're going to talk about all the details about the value levels that Aviator brand represents here in just a second. But first, let's consider the history of aviation watches, Flieger watches, and why we love them so much. For instance, the planes on the table. Here is one of my all-time favorite Allied fighters of the war, P-47D Thunderbolt. I showed it in some other videos because it is checked out from the 1/72nd scale nutnfancy Aviation Museum for tabletop reviews currently. Soon it will go back. Look at the paint job on this, so cool. Red cowling, nose art, 850 cal Brownings in the wings. Kills represented on the side of the fuselage, pilot flying the plane. And he's detailed. Well done, Corgi. Wow, that's a cool plane. Cool fighter, very capable, hard-hitting, very durable, could dive extremely fast with a Hamilton standard prop on it. In the hands of a good pilot, this was a hard plane to beat, but this was more than a match. Focke-Wulf 190, all the marks in the hands of a good pilot. This one too was deadly, and it shot down a lot of P-47s. It did. Tough opponent the German pilot was, at least in the earlier portion of World War II. Now, as it went along and more pilots were lost and the skill level of the German pilot went down, they had some hard times. They did. The weapon systems they fielded, like the Focke-Wulf 190, the TA-152, the Door 9 variation, that is D9, long-nose Focke-Wulf, awesome planes. Awesome. This one has a checkerboard nose again. I think it's either an A6 or an A8, I forget. And the brand of this one, I forget, actually. Came ready-made. It's not a metal model, it's plastic. And I took a Vulcan hit on the three-bladed prop as it fell off the shelf here in the missile silo the other day. So sad. Still works though. Yellow under cowling here. Just really superb plane. Superb. See them both on the table. Air opponents over the skies of Germany, 44, 1945. One of the reasons myself, I love Flieger style of watches because I like tying in and thinking about the aviation history. I like old school stuff. I like the readability of Flieger style watches. I like the second cool of Flieger and aviation watches. From here on out, anytime I review one, you're either going to get a model discussion like this, or I'm going to read to you out of a book that I like. So watch out for my Flieger style of watch reviews. I think you'll like them. What's the watch I'm wearing for this review? Funny you should ask. It's a Flieger style Citizen. I think it's the CA4210 is the variation. Look below. I'll have the model and the link. I bought it off Amazon for a very affordable, like 115, 120. It's Eco Drive. Nice big presentation, like a 45mm case, big hands, Type B dial on it. It's a chronograph. I do have it running. And I have warmed up to chronographs. Initially, when I started doing watch reviews, I wasn't totally sold on them. Yeah, but I love this watch. It's so cool. Look at this strap. Distressed leather, white stitching. Branded clasp here. Pushers have positive action. I have my crystal protector on this one. But here's the deal. Even though it's $115, $120, some guys and some TMPers will say that's too much. Yeah, I don't think it is either. I think that's very reasonable. But I did a poll with TMPers, and I'm going to mention this a lot. I may update it as the watch show continues, if it continues here in TMP. And I asked, what's too much for a watch? And guys said, well, I wouldn't spend more than $200 for sure. And a lot said, I think if I'm remembering right, even $100 was too much for them. I know, I think that's a little bit unrealistic, but I'm also sympathetic because I felt the same way because all I used to wear is what watch in TMP. Do you guys remember old school TMPers? You used to wear a calculator watch, nutnfancy. Total nerd. That's true. Early in TMP, I did wear a Casio calculator watch. Totally did. And then it morphed into a Timex Marathon. I wore those forever. Still a great first cool digital watch for sure. But I finally became a convert to watches like this and to their second cool, which is this. But going back to the Citizen, this one right here, maybe too expensive for some guys, and so I went out looking for a brand that represented the same level of quality, mostly, the same level of looks, totally, and I came out with the Aviator brand. Here's the first one we will consider in this 3-for-1 WRV in TMP. Sounds like a radio call sign, a radio station call sign. WRV in TMP. Yeah, 3-for-1. This one here is the Aviator long model number, F Series Chrono. It is AVW2072G304. Wow, that's a long name. Look below, I'll have the link. I don't know if they're still making it. That's the thing with the Aviator brand. They come out and they issue like a series, and I get the feeling that it just kind of goes away after a while. Maybe it's issued for a year, 2 years. The Aviate brand watch, also awesome Aviator Flieger style of watches, some of my favorites, does the same thing. So when you see any of these watches, if you find it on the secondary market, if it's not available anymore, snag it if you like it. Trust me, the price will be right. Love these watches. Love them. So this model right here, I'll just say the G304, 44 millimeter size case, which I think is just about right. I do like a 45 to 47 for a classic Flieger presentation, kind of like an IWC Big Pilot. One of my all-time favorite style of watches, those IWCs, so awesome. One reason is because of the hands. And this also has those sword-style classic Flieger hands, this F-Series chronograph. I'll talk about the hands in a sec, but 44 millimeters in diameter, 13 millimeters thick, lug to lug 50 millimeters. They are downturned. 316L stainless steel in this variation of the aviation watch. Chronograph, of course, onion crown, pretty good polishing on the stainless steel case. Kettle kind of case. I like this, a kettle case. And I'm going to show you another watch, if I can grab it, that I love that has that same presentation. It's not a flight watch. It's actually a diver, one of my all-time favorite divers, and it's the Master 1000 by Deep Blue. Same type of kettle presentation. Bigger watch. A little bit bigger, not much, but this is an awesome watch. My favorite dive watch is this one right here, currently. Maybe it'll change in the future. I don't know. So that's a sizing. Would it work on your 6.5-inch wrist? I think it would, because it's not overly large. I don't think 44 millimeters is a huge watch. 47 for some guys is. My wrist size is 7.5 inches, so it works for me. Hopefully it would work for you. And now let's consider that gorgeous face that Aviator puts together. It has a cream coloration to it. It is layered, has applied indices on it, nostalgic markings on the chapter ring, sans serif Arabic numerals. There is a date presentation right here in positive display. Still kind of hard to read. And by the way, the hands did not come that color. I got them painted at a watch store. What? Yeah, totally did. They were like silver or white, and they had like low quality lume on them. And I didn't think they really popped from the case, and so I really wanted them red to tie into the whip stitching of the band and also the subdial colorations of the hands, which were already red. So I found a watch store that did it for me. I think they did a pretty good job. Not totally perfect, but good enough. And now these hands really pop in this F-Series chronograph. Really nice. I got the seconds hand painted as well. So if you find this one, don't be sad if it's not colorized like this. Yeah, the watch store had never done it before either. I said, hey, I want these hands painted. Can you do it? Excuse me. Getting a drink. And they're like, what? And he's like, yeah, well, let's paint these hands. And I actually sourced the paint for them, and they didn't like that one, and they went out and sourced their own. In the end, this watch turned out pretty good. There's another one they painted for me as a Citizen. Not so great. They didn't do quite as good a job on that, but it's a learning experience. Not exactly cheap though, about 40 bucks to do it. Huh, but it sure pops now. So great face on this. It is a chronograph, like I said. I've warmed up to them a little bit. This is a 24-hour display right here. So it's just going to show you military time, and here's your seconds counter, your minutes counter, and I always forget which one starts which. I think this starts it. There you go. And you see the airplane symbol ticking around in the bottom. This is a Miyota quartz movement, I believe. So that'll go around, and here's your tabulation of minutes. I don't really use chronograph functions too much because I'm sporting a smartwatch all the time, and I have some timing functions with that. But it's there if you need it. And then this will stop, and then we reset it, I think, with this one. I always forget. And it's the opposite of a Citizen. There you go, I just reset it. The pusher quality on this F-Series Aviator Chrono is okay. It's not great. Much better on the Citizen. I'm just going to tell you. Very positive, tactile here. Here it's a little bit mushy. It's a downside. But the looks, the face of this watch, phenomenal. I like the coin edge bezel. I like how thin it is, so we have a big, effective face on this. Now let's look at the back. Thankfully, it is a screw-in case back on this Aviator watch. There is one I'm going to show you that isn't. I think pretty much every battery-operated watch should have this to replace the batteries easily. I have two sets of tools to do it, case back tools. There's a regular size and a large size that you will need. I forget if this is large or regular. Look below on my links. You should have that in your inventory if you have quartz powered watches. Replacing the battery is pretty easy. I've already done it. I think when I got this watch, it was already ran down, and about, I don't know, 2 months ago I replaced the battery in it. I forget which power cell it uses. I just order them on Amazon and keep a whole stock of them. Nice case back though. Aviator wings here. High polished stainless steel. Maybe not as trick as some of the Aviator watches I've shown you. Those have amazing case backs because they're celebrating World War II aircraft usually. British variety, usually a Hawker Hunter, Hawker Hurricane, maybe a Harrier or something like that is what Aviate does. But still pretty cool. High polish. Let's look at the strap. It's kind of an IWC style strap. See how it narrows? Has contrasted white stitching, which isn't perfect. I mean, you can kind of see it varies a little bit. It's not a totally straight line, but it's pretty good. I like the leather on this though. It's so good that I haven't replaced it. The leather on this strap is pretty good. Let me show you what this particular one looks like on my 7.5-inch wrist. I'll show you the clasp real quick. So it's a logo clasp, polished stainless steel, 2 keepers. I think this is a 22mm lug on this one. Oh, that looks pretty sick. Now, maybe the red hands aren't your thing, but more and more, I like high contrast. I like readability. Love the aviation history for sure of all the Flieger flight watches, but if it's not legible, if I can't pick out the time readily, then I kind of lose interest myself. Good looking watch. Again, that is model number 2072G304. Don't know if it's around anymore. Probably not. Now we go on to a very gorgeous watch. Man, I think you guys are going to really like this. It looks a lot bigger than it is. It is the Aviator Chronograph AVW1603G342. And as I film this video review of these watches, it was available on Amazon. And I forgot to tell you the price on the other one. It was like 70 bucks. And this one is around the same. So remember what I said about this watch. 120, 115 is too much. These watches are less expensive. Amazingly less expensive. You know what the face of this one reminds me of? That Orient that I reviewed. So it's that layered face, very classic presentation, silver, 3-dimensional. That is a gorgeous face on that watch. Unbelievably 70 bucks. Now the price will go up, price will go down, so don't hold me to the price. It is what it is. Maybe it turns into 100. I don't know. It's always supply and demand. And this one probably too will go by the wayside. F-Series. Again, they have collections of watches. The Aviator brand does. I think it's a Russian company, and they make it, you know, in different places, like I think I introed with. Date wheel, interestingly, appears right here. It has a red tick mark to show you the date. This one isn't really set. And then it's funny, it exposes over here too, which I think is a really cool complication. It's very cool. Then we have the nostalgic, very clean presentation, the chapter ring of the markings. I really like that they're black against silver. I love the hands too. very IWC-like hands. So we have those sword Flieger presentation hands. They are my all-time favorite. Oh man, do I love them. Then we have the triangle with the 2 dots, also an homage to IWC and a Flieger presentation. And then we have the functionality of a chronograph in this watch. Same function as before, except we don't have the mini airplane below. It's just, as you can tell, a red tip seconds hand actually, which is very cool. Military time, elapsed seconds, elapsed minutes right here. And then notice the red tip on the seconds hand here. On the model G342 silver chronograph. It might be available in other colorations. It might be. Non-screw-in crown, onion variety. Not super high quality crown. Let's see if it's signed. It is. Some aren't. One thing I'm checking out more and more on these Quartz watches is when you push it in, is there going to be a hand jump? See a little bit of a hand jump, but I see it in everything. I see it in Seikos and Citizens, German watches sometimes. So you got to just kind of set the hands precisely. This should have quick set as well. It does. You can see me setting the date here. Quartz movement, probably Miyota. I don't know the caliber, and it really doesn't matter. The sizing on this one, it looks like it's bigger than it is. 44 by 13 by 50. And we have kind of a satin finish stainless steel case, non-kettle variety, and this variation of the Aviator. And I don't mind that in this version we have blackened, I should say outside or lined hands with this chronograph, because it's a very light colored face, and so it helps them stand out. Usually if it's like a dark face, gray, blue, I like solid white hands. That's just me. It's my aesthetic. That's what I like. See if the pushers are any more positive on this one. Nah, about the same really. About the same. I have a crystal protector on this one as well. You can kind of see it right here. The edges of it. Let's look at the back. Same as before. High polish. The overall feeling I get from the Aviator brand is that it's super high quality. It really feels and presents like a Seiko or a Citizen, with some small variances like I've been pointing out all along the way. Then we get a stainless steel mesh band that is not grabby. I didn't see this one grabbing my wrist hair. Some do. That means it's radiused nicely. Really breathes well. Maybe a little bit dressy, like I said in another review. Mesh bands just seem a little dressy to me, but it's infinitely adjustable, which I like. Has a pretty good stainless steel clasp on it, also signed. And it's included in what was a $70 watch. Again, will probably go up in price, especially after I post a review, and if guys start buying it. I see that happening. So there's a demand, and then the retailer goes, well, I only got like 3 of these, so they're not going to stay $70. That happens against supply and demand. I love this watch. It's going to get a 5 out of 5 actually. Totally is. And then we go to the next one. You don't know this, but I actually went out and spent Patreon money. Thanks to TMP Patreon guys, by the way, for supporting the project. It's the reason I still make videos. Link below. Join up. Totally worth it. This video will totally break first in Patreon. Love you guys. But I went out and bought a glycine Incursiore, and it was $410. I ended up sending it back. I may have taken a photo of it before I did that. It was a wonderful watch. It really was. I loved it. But I really couldn't justify the cost. I mean, it was a clean presentation, Swiss watch. I know all that was great, but dang, for me that was a lot of money. So for me, above $300 is a lot to spend on a watch because there's so many awesome ones below that price point. I ended up sending it back, but when I saw this Aviator brand watch right here, it reminded me of this one. It's almost an homage to the glycine, for sure. So this one is not a chronograph, and it's not really a classic Flieger watch, but it still is an Aviator watch in my way of thinking. It also has a cream colored face on it. Again, we see just super clean presentation of all the indices, the markings. We have illuminated hands here outlined in black, black seconds hand. And then this subdial is not chronograph, it's a second time zone that you can set any way you want. And it's set with this crown right here. How cool is that? So this one will set time. It'll do quick set on the very small but still present date. Look how tiny that number is. That's a downside. Crazy. So this will set this, and then we'll set our second time zone right here. I got my gloves on, so I can't really pull it out. It keeps the cases cleaner. The sizing on this one, if I wrote it down, I think I did 44.5 right here by 10.5 by 52. So it has a longer lug length, and it is model number AVW0090KLM. All of these are featuring 50-meter water resistance. Actually, I take that back. That silver one, this one is 100-meter, if you care. Thin bezel on this one, guys. Look at that, thin bezel. So on the hand, again, it's going to look like a bigger watch than it is. Also because it has a brushed satin stainless steel 316L stainless steel case. So it presents larger than it is. If you like that, good option. Really good option. Let's look at the case back. Limited edition. It said it when I bought it, so I think this may be sold out by the time I post it. Same thing applies. If I could get 50,000 views on all these watch reviews, dude, I'd throw out like 10 a week. 2.4 ounces, 2.4 ounces on the other one, and this one was 4.2 ounces with a stainless steel mesh band. I forgot to tell you that. Non-protected crown, again, thin bezel, high polish on the side, high polish on the back. Notice though on this one we do not have a screw-in case back, which is sadness for me. I think there is a pop-up tab there somewhere to pop it up. I don't really like those so much. I much prefer to have, you guessed it, screw-in case back. Quartz movement, Miyota, no doubt. And then we get to the band of this one. Little bit of a letdown. I mean, it has some fake rivets here. It has an attempt to make it look like an aviation style leather band, but it's just really cheesy. It looks more like vinyl to me. I don't like the finishing on it. It's glossy. Not horrible. I'll probably give the band here on this particular watch 2.5 stars. I guess they're real rivets. I forgot to mention that. So they go all the way through. It's not bad. It's like suede lined. Look at the clasp. Every clasp has the Aviator logo on it. Now I say that like that because some of the watches I've reviewed lately don't have logos on them. Here comes a $270 Aristo chronograph, German made. I reviewed this separately. And let's look at the case back. There's the information on that. Also non-screw-in for a German watch, 270 bucks. Oh, this one does. It was the other one I reviewed that didn't have a signed clasp on it. It's a good watch, it really is, but I don't think it's any better than what I'm reviewing right here. I really don't. So I don't know if I'm going to keep this one because of the leather strap. And if I were to give it another criticism, I wish the hands were bigger because we have a large effective face in this Glycine tribute watch. But the hands just seem a little bit small to me. I'd like to see this minutes hand extend about 2-3 more millimeters out. Same with the hours hand. And then we will consider the lume, I guess. The lume on these watches is not incredible. The other ones, they have it too. The silver one has it. I don't have my flashlight handy right now. Super quick, I'll just show you this. And if it doesn't present well, I'll just put it in set. Yeah, it's okay. I mean, it's not amazing. Nothing like Citizen, nothing like Seiko. So that's a downside. If lume is important to you, then probably don't get these watches. And since I painted this F-Series chronograph here, there is no lume at all. Now another watch, and I did mention this in the outset, that I want you to look at and probably consider is the $70 model AVW2044G292. You're seeing it in screen video right now. It was in Amazon at the time for that price. Aviate makes watches just like it, but I'll tell you what, they're like 250 bucks. So it is truly a Flieger style watch, British variety, with the insignia on it. It is gorgeous. Maybe World War I styling a little bit. It has those beautiful Flieger hands. They are outlined in black. I wish in that version they would be a high contrast color. But everything else is really excellent. It's like the Aviate 4011 series for $250. And another thing about the G292 is it's a bigger casing than the Aviate. The Aviate is a 42 millimeter case, and the other one is going to be bigger, about 44, I think. Check that one out, definitely worth it. And another one, honorable mention, is a G318. It's a beige color Aviator branded chronograph. It's very cool, and it's beige. I just love them. Like I said, you really can't go wrong with this brand. For the money you're going to spend, it's going to be under $100 for all of these watches, maybe well under $100 perhaps. You can't go wrong. It's a home run, and even though I'm a retired 21-year Air Force pilot myself, lots of flight time, lots of combat support time, I still love aviation history. Love it. Can't get enough of it, especially World War II combat aviation history. And these types of watches tie into that. Not to mention, they're gorgeous to look at, they're high value, and they have excellent readability. WRV and TMP complete.